Battling blazes across the country. Wildfires take hold at several sites, with dozens of square miles now affected. With more than a third of us not using sun cream, Kate knows only too well the risks of developing skin cancer. Battling to go up and fighting to survive. It's a big weekend for Wrexham and struggling Newport. And planes, trains and automobiles. We're live at a festival of transport. Hello, good evening. Fire crews are continuing to battle several large wildfires tonight across Welsh countryside. A series of blazes began burning in the Elan Valley on Sunday, and in South Powys yesterday a grass fire took hold near the peak of Pen y Fan, scorching around 20 square kilometres of land. From there, here's our rural affairs and climate correspondent Hannah Thomas with tonight's top story.
Well, you can see the Wildfire Incident Response Unit from South Wales Fire and Rescue Service over my shoulder. Crews have been here in this forestry area of Banau Brycheiniog for going on 2 days now. The blaze began on Wednesday evening and at its height was 22 square kilometres. From the other side of Pen y Fan, of course the peak of Banau Brycheiniog, farmer Stella Owen was taking this video of the smoke she could see on the hillside. Closer to here, farmer Nettie Rees was actually very near the blaze and was just giving this video to us of the ferocity of the flames that she saw. And this fire has been particularly challenging for firefighters over the past 48 hours.
It is tough terrain. Our all-terrain vehicles have helped us access it as well. We've had the use of our drones, which has helped us survey the area, see the scale of the widespread activity of the fire as well. It is an annual occurrence for us. March was busy for us, but we do prepare, we train for this, and our response is well prepared.
Well, such was the extent of this fire that actually yesterday fire officers closed the A470 because those flames were coming near the road. The National Trust closed the car park near Pen y Fan because they did not want walkers going anywhere near those flames either. But it's not just here in Banau Brycheiniog where these wildfires have taken hold. In the Elan Valley, they've been burning since Sunday. You can see a photograph from Ruth Rees, who had sheep in the foreground and those flames in the background. And Mid and West Wales Fire and Rescue Service have also taken these images of the extent of the flames there. But we are approaching the bank holiday weekend and forecasters are giving rain. So fire officers are hoping that this will help to dampen down any wildfires that are still burning this evening. But they know that Wales remains at a high risk of wildfires across the country.
Hannah Thomas there. A teenager has been found guilty of murdering a woman by driving a car at her and others outside a club in Cardiff. 38-year-old Shelley Davis died in hospital 3 weeks after the incident in Ely. Her partner, David Bratcher, was also seriously injured in the incident. CCTV footage shows 19-year-old Cian Bateman inhaling nitrous oxide shortly before the collision. Following a trial at Cardiff Crown Court, Bateman was found guilty of murder and also of grievous bodily harm with intent. He'll be sentenced in July. Now, this time next week, votes will be being counted and the first Senedd election results will be coming in thick and fast. Throughout the campaign, we've been looking at some of the biggest issues affecting the country, and our latest poll revealed education is one of the most important issues on voters' minds. Gwennan Campbell has been looking at party policies and how they plan to score top marks.
Studying hard for her GCSE exams. A few years ago, this scene would have been unimaginable. Not because of Felicity's academic potential, but because for her, being in a school classroom was simply not an option.
Felicity has always found school attendance a little bit tricky. I think because of the environment and because of the unpredictable nature. There were some days when we would manage to get in the car and get to school, but she couldn't get out of the car. So we got to the point where we stopped going.
But after a short break, she was offered a place on an online learning course, tailored to children in similar situations.
The change has been phenomenal. Her confidence has grown, her self-esteem has grown. she now feels, well, she's now learning in an environment that is safe for her.
And Felicity is not alone.
On average, a third, about 33% of secondary school age pupils are classed as persistently absent. And what that means is that they've missed more than 10% of their school sessions.
School attendance isn't the only problem facing the sector here in Wales. Looking at the latest PISA results, which compare how pupils do worldwide, Wales is falling behind all the other UK nations when it comes to reading, maths and science. And if that wasn't enough, we're also struggling to find teachers to teach them.
Schools in Merthyr, schools in Valleys areas do face particular challenges recruiting candidates. I think there's a temptation to perhaps want to work in the big cities, and very often we're asking staff to perhaps teach in a subject area that they're not a specialist in and expecting them to retrain.
If in power, Reform UK say they would ban mobile phones in schools and take a zero-tolerance approach to discipline. The Welsh Conservatives would also restore discipline in schools and ban mobile phones. Plaid Cymru would develop a foundational literacy and numeracy plan and create library spaces in every primary school. The Lib Dems are promising a real-term increase in per-pupil funding and would provide free school meals for eligible children during school holidays. The Green Party plan to make schools phone-free environments and provide more support to teachers. And Welsh Labour pledged to boost standards in schools with focus on literacy and numeracy. But from absent children to absent teachers, the education system is learning the hard way. And the challenge for the next Welsh Government is to make the grade. Gwenann Campbell, ITV News.
Well, staying with the election and in the run-up to polling day, we've been speaking to party leaders live on this programme. And tonight I'm joined by the leader of Plaid Cymru, Srin ap Iorwerth. Really good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be with you.
Firstly, 20 hours of childcare is one of your flagship policies. It's ambitious. Is it even achievable, and by when?
There's been a lot of focus on the finances because it's expensive, but it's something that we have decided needs to be a priority. Therefore, we've found the money to do it. But it's not just the funding. We know what we have in 2026, 27. We have a reasonable expectation of what we have in the pot for the 3 subsequent years of the next government. What we do is prioritise. We make sure that we are able to align our priorities in government with the costings. And there are a number of reasons why we need to do that. It's about giving children a good start in life. It's about helping parents get back to work, but it's to do with the cost of living crisis, which bites so hard still for families the length and breadth of Wales. You say it's expensive, it would be universal. Won't you just be diverting hundreds of millions of pounds from the NHS to pay for childcare for people who can afford it, millionaires? Yeah, no, there's no suggestion at all of diversion from the NHS. And in fact, if you look at the plans for the coming year, one of the big investments we'll make is another injection of funding for the NHS in order to build that sustainability and bring waiting times down. It's something we have to do. You can't keep on throwing money at the NHS, so there are other choices that we make around preventative, taking the pressure off hospitals by investing in social care and so on, but we have to make that investment. But the childcare offer in and of itself has so many purposes to it. We think we need to build on work that's already been done. Labour didn't meet its targets on childcare. We're going to take it to a level of ambition that we have never seen in Wales. The Institute of Fiscal Studies says that your plans will require cuts or tax increases. You've ruled out tax rises. What are you going to cut? It's not cuts. Nobody would expect a Plaid Cymru government to come in and just carry on doing what Labour has been doing, because we know what the result of that is. It's failing public services. What we will do is look at how money is spent. For example, on poverty, Labour say they've spent £7 billion, but it's not how much you spend, it's what you do with that money. A third of children in Wales still live in poverty. We need to spend the money better, tackling problems at root cause rather than having to respond to them later, which is more costly. Why won't you publish your costings? You're asking people to trust you, and yet you won't publish them. Well, it's fair to say no party has published line by line costings. Labour has published its costings. You've seen how short that list is. It's a gimmick. That's not a Conservatives say they'll do the same. Calling something a costings document doesn't make it a costings document. What we're asking people to do, we took our costs, of course, for independent assessment, came back saying This is challenging. I want challenge, but it's achievable. And that's the core thing. And we're asking people to scrutinise us, not on how much we spend, but on what we do and how we change people's lives. We're not working miracles here, but we are moving Wales forward and making a difference to the lives of families and communities.
Let's talk about independence, one of the cornerstones of Plaid Cymru. You've ruled it out for the next 4 years. When do you think the referendum will take place?
Well, I've always said and believe personally that this is something for the people of Wales. This isn't an election about independence. There's no referendum coming up, but it is about Wales. What we can do right now with new leadership for Wales under Plaid Cymru on the key policy areas on public services, but we always should have an eye on the future and what else we could do to improve our lot, because currently things aren't working too well. It's a very unequal United Kingdom. We'll make the case to the United Kingdom for fair funding, HS2 funding, give us control of our natural resources. That's the kind of government that you have from Plaid Cymru, which is different to anything that's gone before it.
What if the UK government won't devolve the power to hold a referendum? What are you going to do then?
Well, as with everything, on that particular issue, that's in the hands of the people of Wales, and we're not at that point yet. But there are a whole host of things that the UK government has been saying no to. The way to make sure you don't get what you want is to throw the towel in, which is what Labour has been doing. I will have a constructive approach to my relationship with the UK Prime Minister, but he or whoever his successors might be will be under no doubt that my loyalty is never to a London party boss. I haven't got one of those. My boss is the people of Wales. My loyalty always is to them.
You said yesterday the choice between the two futures facing Wales is stark. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think it is very, very stark because the old politics is gone and we do now have a choice between Plaid Cymru and Reform. And I think in these last few days of the election, that becomes more and more clear. And we're asking people to focus on what those two very, very different futures are. One is a step forward, one is a step back.
Now, we're asking all the leaders to do a bit of role play. Let's imagine you're on my doorstep and you're going to convince me to vote Plaid Cymru. Here we go.
Okay. Jonathan, this is an election like none that has been before in the days of devolution. Labour are not going to be winning this election next week after 100 years. It is now a two-horse race. It's between Plaid Cymru and Reform. It's between hope and division. It's a step forward or a step back. Now, I'll ask people to make a positive decision to vote for Plaid Cymru because of our plans on the NHS, bringing waiting times down, on our plans to improve standards in education, to create jobs in all parts of Wales through our new development agency, the most generous childcare offer in the UK, and because we'll stand up for Wales. But there is a compelling tactical reason to vote Plaid in this election too. One party has to be bigger than Reform. That can only be Plaid Cymru. So my message is, vote for hope, vote for new leadership for Wales and vote for Plaid Cymru next Thursday.
Pryn ap Iorwerth, thank you very much indeed. Now, with a few days of nice weather this week, many of us will have enjoyed sitting outside in the glorious sunshine, but there are fresh warnings tonight about the serious consequences of getting sunburnt. It comes as alarming new figures show nearly a third of Welsh adults never wear sun cream. Well, Chloe Seaton has been speaking to one skin cancer patient who is urging people to do all they can to stay safe in the sun.
So you can see this was the original mole, and then this was the mole a couple of months later, and you can see it really has got darker and it just looks that little bit more aggressive.
When Kate went backpacking across the world with her partner, the last thing she expected to discover was that the small mole on her back was in fact skin cancer.
I just noticed a kind of itch on the back of my back, my lower back, and it turned out to be a mole that I hadn't really noticed, but I just noticed it was a little bit red. But we weren't going to be back home for another couple of months, so kind of just left it then.
When she got home, Kate visited her local GP, who referred her to a specialist dermatologist and confirmed she had stage 2 melanoma, which later progressed to stage 3.
You kind of just don't expect it to happen. You don't expect to be dealing with cancer when you're in your 30s. So I think it definitely came as a shock.
New research has shown that 11% of people in Wales actually burn their skin on purpose or use sunbags. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's quite a shocking statistic actually. There is a culture in the UK, that we want to make the most of the sun while it's out. We want to get in the beer gardens and we want to kind of enjoy the sun with our friends. And I think you can still do that, but I think it's just doing it safely.
Kate is still undergoing her treatment, which began here at the Velindre Centre in Cardiff. Oncology consultant Dr. Fraser said whilst there's obvious mental well-being benefits to enjoying the sun, more awareness of its impact is needed.
Getting burnt more than 5 times doubles your chance of developing skin cancer in your life. So it's really important that people aren't setting out to burn themselves. It's important to cover up. It's important to avoid those hours where the sun is most risky to the skin.
With summer fast approaching, the charity Melanoma Focus is urging people to take the sun seriously, with 1,090 new melanoma skin cancer cases in Wales every year. For Kate, she hopes more people will think twice before trading in their long-term health for a temporary glow. Chloe Seaton, ITV News.
Well, let's take a look at the sport now. Matt is here. Lots going on this weekend.
Well, John, it's a huge weekend for 2 of our football teams as we head into the final games of the season, starting with Newport County. If we look at the league table here, we'll see that they are battling to stay in League 2 as they travel to face Barrow on Saturday. 5 teams are still at risk of being relegated out of the Football League this weekend. Newport County are currently just outside the drop zone and their fate is in their own hands. Win and they should be safe, but any slip-ups could be disastrous for the football club. That brings enormous pressure. Here's manager Christian Fuchs.
It's obviously always the question how you deal with pressure, right? And when you realize what pressure actually is, that it's just an elevated heart rate. Nothing else. Everything else is just feelings, right? If you just take a step back, take a breather, and just focus on, what's the game plan? What do I need to do? If you refocus on that and just be calm, compose yourself, then it's fine.
And for Wrexham, there will be pressure of a different kind as they push for a spot in the Championship playoffs. They are currently in that final playoff spot, but only by virtue of a 1-goal advantage over Hull City. To guarantee their spot, Wrexham will need to win and ensure that Hull don't topple that goal difference. But it won't be easy as they face Middlesbrough, who themselves still have hopes of securing automatic promotion to the Premier League.
It's the blocking everything out, the motivation is always going to be there, an understanding of concentrating on the detail of what's required on the day. And you go back to the Charlton game and I thought we did that perfectly. And it's just that kind of level of understanding about how Middlesbrough are going to play, what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are, and can we put that into practice when it matters the most on the most important game of the season.
And finally, this Sunday, the Dragons will face Montpellier in the semi-final of rugby's European Challenge Cup. If they win, it will be the first time the region has ever made it to a major final. So, John, best of luck to them.
Nat, all going on. Thanks very much indeed. Talking of which, let's take a look at the weather. Ruth is here. Dare I ask, how's it shaping up for the long weekend?
You can ask, but probably best not to. It's not looking great, John, and that, of course, means rain. But despite the forecast, plenty of events are still going to be happening up and down the country over the bank holiday weekend, including the Llandudno Transport Festival. It's the largest event of its kind in Wales, with everything from cars and buses to steam engines on display. And who else but, well, frankly, Rob Shelley is there for us now, Rob.
Well, it's dry here, Ruthie, and I know I've tempted the fates. So far, I've met a bus called Betty and a lorry called Rosemary, and we're just about to meet a man called Jim, who actually makes this happen, has been making this happen for 30 years now. Oh, Jim, you organised this field of wonder and madness here, and it's still all taking shape at the moment. 3 days a weekend. This is like D-Day, but a peaceful version of it, and with more diesel.
Sort of, yes.
It's
madness.
Just, you have become a tradition. It feels to me like you've been doing this ever since Mr. Rolls met Mr. Royce.
Well, yeah,
it's been doing a fair while.
It is a bit like that, to be honest. My children are 35 years, one's 35 and she was just born when this kicked off. And she's here, with her own children now, so it's just, it's the way it is.
But for so many people, this is like the highlight of their camp. This is when they get to show their buses off.
Yes, it is. Their toys out the toy boxes into the field and show them off. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much love for so many things that quite often we're just rescued down rusty lanes.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. There's barn finds and all that sort of thing. These are the barn finds which have come back to life.
I love the fact as well, you were saying to me that obviously COVID knocked us all for six, but actually you found something rather remarkable.
We did, yeah, because those bits and bobs that were stuck in the back of sheds were able to it gave people some time to actually put these things back together and do a bit of work on them. So after COVID, we saw it maybe the same exhibitor, but with a different exhibit. So that exhibit was fresh out of the box. So
we just walked past your dad's bus, which is going to Penzance, even though it's never been to Penzance.
Definitely. Well, it started in Penzance, yeah. But yeah, it will go back there one day. So that'll be another story on that day.
But I love, this is like a hymn to all the old factories of Britain and all the old names, the Avengers, the Imps. There's a tripe stack I've got my eye on.
Right, yeah. Definitely.
Very glamorous. Now, what does it feel like once you've done 3 days of this weekend?
Could do with a holiday, I think. It doesn't happen, but we feel like it's needed.
There will be no sleep. Jim, well done for organising a field full of nostalgia here.
It's a team affair. And
it's wonderful, isn't it? Yeah. From us here in Llandudno, it's back to the studio.
Rob, thank you very much indeed. It's all happening there, isn't it? Anything where you've got a bus called Betty has got to be an exciting event.
Yeah, I know.
But of course, even a bus is called Betty. You're going to want a little bit of dry weather as we head through into the coming bank holiday weekend. John asked earlier, I'm not so sure we're going to get too much of that dry weather. There are going to be some spells of very, very heavy rain. We've had quite a few of those out there today, haven't we? Some sunny intervals. I think the best of any sunshine likely to be possibly through tomorrow. Sunday, let's move on. Bank holiday Monday, that's looking okay. But by the time we get into Monday, it is going to feel noticeably cooler. Now, given that we've had temperatures in the low 20s over the last few days, we are going to feel the chill, tapping into some cold air, which is going to start sinking its way in from the north. What does that mean? Well, it means that by the time we get to Tuesday, Wednesday, it is going to feel chilly. Temperatures struggling to get actually in double figures in some areas. So there is the possibility that over the hills and mountains, higher ground, can you believe it? And I'm going to say this very quietly, we might get some wintry flurries. Nothing too much to worry about, nothing that's going to hang around, and certainly all very normal for this time of the year. So if you can, and you do see some blue sky over the weekend, my advice would be to make the most of it. It's going to be fleeting and it's not going to last. So let's take a look at that in a little more detail.
Today's forecast, blue skies, followed by a spread of hot and cold plates. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
Well, for much of Wales, it's actually really rather lovely evening, some late evening sunshine, varying amounts of cloud into the overnight period and a little bit of a breeze out towards southern areas, which, well, the combination means that even though it's going to be chilly, it's not going to be cold enough for frost, which is good news. Lows of around 6 or 7 in more sheltered spots. Possibly a little bit murky as we wake then to the start of the bank holiday weekend. There will be some dry and bright weather. Make the most of the sunshine because I think the cloud will tend to build. It's going to be hit and miss during the course of the day. And actually, we could just see a few showers cropping up, but on the whole, not looking too bad. Highs of around 17 or 18, always feeling a little bit more pleasant if you do catch that sunshine, but I'm sure it's spotted down across the southeast. There is some heavy rain waiting in the wings, and that will start to slowly work its way through parts of southeast Wales. By the early hours of Sunday morning, though, largely clearing away from us, but there could be some sharp showers in this batch of wet weather, so just be careful. So you can see for much of Sunday, again, varying amounts of cloud, and that cloud could trigger a few sharp showers, particularly down through southern areas. So the south really in the firing line into the start of the bank holiday weekend. Again, temperatures are holding at around 16 or 17, 13, 14 out towards coastal areas. We're tapping into a slightly northerly airflow, so that does mean that the air is going to feel that little bit fresher. And we're certainly going to notice that actually as we head into next week. So for bank holiday Monday, actually this is where all eyes are turned because this is shaping up to be the better day of the bank holiday weekend. Could see some dry and bright weather. Make the most of that because as you can see into next week then, unsettled and certainly feeling fresher.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
So given that April was exceptionally dry and exceptionally warm for much of Wales, May, of course today, May Day, has got off to a pretty ropey start. Apologies. Time for it to get better though, John, so there's always hope.
On that cheery note, we'll say thanks for joining us this Friday evening. Hannah Thomas will be back with your headlines a little later after the ITV News at 10. But from all the team, enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye.